We can do this.
Yes.
This is the resolve we have to awaken with every single day. I mean, we know the pain, we know the suffering. From coast to coast, around the world, Black women, along with our people, we have suffered and we have struggled. The wonder is not why so many women are broken. The wonder is not why so many women have lost their minds and their way. The wonder is that we are here. We are here. That we have survived, that we are thriving. That is the wonder. And today what we're going to focus on, we're going to raise the issues that are important to us, the things that may be barriers that stand in the way of our empowerment. But that's not where we're going to dwell. Because today we're really focused on solutions. Yes. We're going to raise those issues, and we're not going to be able to talk about everything. But what we do address, we're going to try to find ways to understand those issues and how we can mobilize around them and how we can continue to empower ourselves. And we have to always, not just during Black History Month or when there's a family reunion or not even when we gather in worship service, whether that's the mosque on a Saturday or the church on a Sunday or every day as some people do go to worship. But in our hearts every day we have to hold a memory of what we have done as Black women. When I lose my way and people think that, if you're known and, make a little bit of money that you never feel depressed. I know that even women who are leading congregations as you are, with your beloved husband, when people see you in a high place, like a Sister Adelaide Sanford or a Dr. Barbara Justice, who is really just healing people in our Harlem community, people think that you too don't shed tears. No matter who you are, no matter how much education you have, no matter how strong you are, life is going to knock you down. But when you're strong from the inside, when you understand what you come from, life may knock you down, but it doesn't knock you out. Sometimes you just need to catch it. There are so many times when I doubt and fear and don't believe that I could take that next step, and people have put me on a pedestal. I want to step right down off of that because I'm just a regular girl from East Harlem, you know what I mean, who God has blessed abundantly, and I know what I owe my people because of the bounty that I have. And when I lose my way, and when I doubt and I fear, you know who I think about? I think about Mary McLeod Bethune, as she wrote to me. A woman who, like me, was a single mother, who left a marriage and her home in the South and moved further south to Daytona Beach, Florida, at the turn of the century. And in her mind, she was holding a dream that she could create schools, or a school for Black girls. Nobody in 1904 was thinking about educating Black girls. Mary McLeod Bethune did not have money. She didn't have the physical resources, but she had the spiritual power inside of her, knowing that when you have the right idea and you're trying to do the work of the people, God just opens the way for you, and she moved right on down there to Daytona Beach, Florida, with her little son Albert, who was 5 years old. There was no school building awaiting her. She didn't have dollars, she had $5. She went and gathered up all the little broken pieces of furniture from a city dump, found an affluent white gentleman who owned a little broken down building and asked if she could start her school there. He said, okay. You know how she made the money for the school? Because, it's necessity that is the mother of invention. We wouldn't know our power. We wouldn't know God's grace if not for our challenges. And everything that happens to us, no matter how painful and shameful it is, even slavery. I'm not saying that was in divine order, but what has happened is Black culture has spread throughout the world, and we are here, and on our watch, we know that we can do the healing because we have everything that the generations of women before us had, and the technology, and the education, and the affluence that they didn't have. Like Mary McLeod Bethune, she sold sweet potato pies to the brothers who were working the railroad to try to get the money to build her school. And we know what we call that school today. That school that was started in 1904 with $5 is now Bethune-Cookman College with about 7 campuses and doing phenomenal work. All good things are possible. And we see where black women have ascended to today. We are leading corporations, building our own businesses, leading in state government, leading in national government. Black women, as we sit here, we know we're winning the gold right there in Greece, in Athens. We're winning the gold. Black women as artists, as writers, as poets, healers, teachers, doctors. We're doing it all, and we're doing it well. And what we're going to do today is really focus on how we can widen this circle and bring into a place of healing and wholeness our sisters who really are broken, our sisters who can't see a way. And I know that I'm only standing here because there were people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And so I'm going to introduce to you Barbara Justice, who is co-convening with me today, a friend, a physician, a person who for more than 20 years has been a surgeon. And Lord have mercy, she went back to school because she decided she wanted to practice psychiatry. She knows where our great need is. It's really in our minds. Whatever we believe about ourselves is true. And so Barbara Justice is finishing up her residency now. And also, in addition to that, in addition to being a surgeon and a psychiatrist, you know, this is the sister who really helped to extend Kwame Ture's life.
That's right.
She helped to heal him over those years before he made his transition. And who really inspires so many people throughout the tri-state New York area through her radio show. So it is my honor and joy to introduce to you my co-convener, Dr. Barbara Justice, who's going to introduce our panelists.
Hotep. God bless. It's wonderful to be here with you all today. I mean, this is a magnificent, historic experience. It's a divine experience. We are here for a reason. We are here to accomplish. We are here to teach, to grow spiritually, and in a reality-based kind of material sense to help our brothers and sisters in Haiti. And as we learn and as we grow, to spread that word throughout the diaspora and finally to take it home, that we are one people, that we are here for each other, and that as one prospers, we will all prosper, and as one falters, we will all falter. So we have to be together. We have a magnificent panel this afternoon. Let me say that this magnificent panel could have come from all these sisters right here, or all these sisters right here, or all these sisters right here. So we have powerhouses here. We just couldn't, you see how many we have. And we know that we have talent all throughout this ship, through our people, through the sisterhood. Each one of you is a survivor. Each one of you has accomplished. Each one of you has expertise. Each one of you has information and spirit to share with all of us. So what we did is we took a sampling. And we took some of our wonderful sisters that are aboard today, and I want to introduce each person to you and tell you a little bit about them. The first, let's see, actually, that's wonderful. See how we work together? We didn't even plan that one. Okay, the first sister who did our ritual, and Sister Susan has already, first of all, let me say Susan Taylor.
Yes.
Because Susan didn't introduce herself.
But that's okay, let's just keep going.
But we love you, and we all know you. That's why you didn't have to introduce yourself. Okay. To my left, Reverend Cecilia Williams Bryan. She's the Episcopal Supervisor of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. She's ministered in 15 states, from Alaska to New Mexico and St. Louis to Los Angeles. Oh, those are your districts. That's what you cover right now. Because you've ministered all over the world, right? So anyway, give her a hand. Our second sister is Sister Shani Jamelia O'Neill. She's a writer, a poet, and an activist from Washington, D.C. She's a designer and director of the Art of Activism, an anthology seminar series that fuses political education and cultural work. She's a Fulbright scholar who has traveled to more than 25 countries. Shani is committed to working towards justice for Black people diasporically. Please give our sister a hand. Yeah, just stand. Let them see your face. Yeah, fabulous sister. Our next sister, Sister Dr. Regent Adelaide Sanford, also known as Mother Fatima, is Vice Chancellor of the Board of Regents of the State of New York. She's a Mellon Scholar at Teachers College at Columbia University. She is the wife of Dr. J.W. Sanford for 49 years. She's the mother of Dr. J. Sanford and David Sanford, grandmother of two males, and she has 4 honorary doctorates. And she is also my mom and my mentor. Not my spiritual mom, and my mentor. Please give a hand for our sister, Dr. Regent. That's where it is. There it is. I got it. Yeah. Okay, our next sister is Sister Malika. She said, not yet, right? Sister Malika Asha Sanders. She's co-founder of the African Diaspora Exchange Project. She's president of the 21st Century Youth Leadership Movement, and she's from Selma, Alabama, and she sits on our panel with her mom, who's sitting right next to her. Please give a hand to our Sister Malika.
You can't read my writing, y'all.
Sister Rose, who I know you wrote it, here it is. Sister Rose Saunders, age 59, look at that girl, residing in Selma, Alabama, the heart of the civil rights movement, uses her training in law and community organizing to build institutions and movements to end tracking, miseducation, and other injustices that besiege African people. Please give this dynamic sister a hand. The next sister is Sister Lucifer Cadet. She's a social worker who received her MSW from Keene University. She is currently a school social worker in the Elizabeth School District in New Jersey. She is a native of Haiti and has lived in the United States since 1981. Please give our Haitian American sister a hand. The next sister is another sister that is close to me and who is a spiritual sister. We've done a lot of work together. Sister Cassandra Grant. She's an educator, lover of life, friend, and mother to all children. We are here in the life to find our purpose, she says, and perform it with great passion and commitment. She is a member of the New York State Department of Education and the Board of Education of People of African Descent. Please give our sister a hand. Our next sister is Sister Keisha Greene. She's from South Carolina, currently living in Brooklyn, New York. She is an educator and an activist representing Blackout Arts Collective, a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering people of color through arts, activism, and education. And she's the baby on our group. Please give her a hand. Next sister, now I have to tell you about this sister. We started first year college together. We were roommates when she went to law school and I went to medical school. She has had my back through thick and thin, and I've got hers. And she is my sister, Katherine Thomas. Katherine is a native of New York who resides in Fort Washington, Maryland. After graduation from City College in New York, she taught in the New York City Public Schools for 2 years prior to moving to Washington, D.C. to attend law school. She has practiced law, been an entrepreneur, and a broadcaster with WPFW, the D.C. Pacifica affiliate, and is currently a real estate professional. She believes her most important work to be her efforts with adolescent girls in the Rites of Passage ministry at the Union Temple Baptist Church. Please give our sister Katherine a hand. Now, this is another person that I've known a long time. First grade. Now, we hadn't seen each other for years until we both hooked back up, because one of the things that I'm also doing is working at Rikers Island. And this last sister is Sister Renee Washington. She's been a nurse administrator at Rikers Island for 20 years. And she says her work brings her in touch with women of all ages. 90% are women of color and low income. They range from single to married, and some have children and others don't. One trait all have in common is low self-esteem. Many are HIV positive, they're drug addicts, and have prostituted for their drug addiction. And it complicates her intervention of treatment that she tries to administer to them. So she's been there for many years, and she's one of the major administrators at Rikers Island, and she's a sister with love and purity and gentleness in her heart. Please give a hand for my sister Renee Washington.
Thank you. And you should know that Rikers Island is a jail. It's a place that too many of our people pass through on their way to prisons in the New York State area. This is going to be an interactive opportunity. And what we did was we selected 4 people to speak to you. These are our keynoters. So they're going to speak for 5 minutes. And then others are going to raise subjects. And we want you to, if you want to comment on those things, to go to the microphones and make this an interactive session. So we're going to start with one of our young dynamic sisters from Selma, Malika Sanders, who's going to speak to us about re-socializing ourselves. We've lost our way. It is clear we have lost. Shani, how can I forget your poem? We're going to begin with a beautiful offering from Shani. Thank you, Shani.
We some mighty, righteous women. We are some mighty, righteous women. We can make your eyes blink, your fingers pop, your neck snap, and your jaw drop. We can make your hair flip, your lips curl, your ears open, your head swirl. We can make your rivers run, your mountains rise, your foundations tremble, your families tie. I said we are some mighty, righteous women. And we are here to create rituals of remembrance that will lift our people up. We weave warnings into baskets and warm our people with hand-stitched patchwork quilts. We scat symphonies of cornrows and cornbread while battle scars brandish our tongues. We carve cleansing tears from the lightning bolts that sparked revolution in the souls of Turner, Tubman, and Toussaint. Okay. Vive Haiti! Vive Haiti! Vive Haiti! Vive Haiti! Vive Haiti! Et je sais qu'elle va vivre. I know that Haiti will live. Yes. Why? Because you can give us the remnants. You can give us what is left. And we will create life, complete with ringing laughter. And when we do this, God shall wipe away the tears from our eyes. Yes. Because our people, black people, we do not just survive, but we succeed. Mm-hmm. Yes. We do not just prosper. We are some mighty, righteous women. We are some mighty, righteous people, setting fire to the wind with our song.
Mother Fatima, with the precious memory of who we are, Sister Adelaide Sanford.
My round, brown, speckled, faced, long and tall, straight and curly. My sisters, round and brown and very sweet. We have been so maligned in terms of definition of who we are that it is important occasionally to review the legendary power of the African warrior women.
Yes.
And their blood and their intelligence and their heartbeat is in this room.
Yes.
I speak now of Makeda,
Yes.
of Hatshepsut,
Yes.
of Yasantawa,
Yes.
of Queen Tai, of Nefertari, of Nzinga, of Deborah the judge who went and said to Barak, "Didn't my Lord tell you?"
Yes. That's right.
We are reminded that we are the descendants of these great warrior women who knew how to make the impossible possible. One of the most legendary and profoundly important women in the history of women of African ancestry is the sister called Isis. Isis was a woman of noble birth.
Yes.
She was the wife of Osiris.
Yes.
And he was a chief, a king, a legend among his people. But he had a jealous brother whose name was Seth. And Seth had tried on many occasions to kill him, but he had not succeeded. So he strategized a way to not only destroy him, but to so mutilate his body, limb from limb, joint from joint, tissue from tissue, and scatter it so that it could never come together again. And he succeeded in destroying Osiris in the cruelest way, and of scattering the limbs, the internal organs, the brain, the ears, the eyes, the fingers, the toes, from each other all across the universe. But Isis, knowing the importance of future generations, would not accept the impossibility of the future and of a son to carry on the traditions of her people. And so she decided, in spite of the enormous obstacles, she would find the broken pieces of his body and put them together again. So she chose a sister to travel with her. And the legend said that they forgot about their royal robes and their hairstyles and their cosmetics and their jeweled sandals and their Gucci boots. And they made a decision that regardless to the pain and the mud and the filth and the dirt and the disappointments and the waste and the spit and the sputum, that they would find these pieces. The legend says that Isis' tears became the river Nile. She cried and she cried and she wept and she wailed, but she kept on going. She did not let her grief or her pain or her disappointment or her fallacies prevent her from pursuing her mission. The legend says she found these pieces and she carefully mended them and put them back together. The one piece that she couldn't find was the penis. And so that object, which is called The needle, Cleopatra's needle, and the other symbols, those are the symbolic representation of the penis of Osiris, which she never found. But you see, the semen does not originate in the penis. And so she found a bird who extracted from the innards of his body the semen and impregnated herself, artificial insemination, and brought forth her son. We as women know that the bodies of our men have been broken by racism, by negative definitions of who they are, by a world that determines your value by the power and the money that you have, while they prevent you from securing the money and the power. And so they are scattered, disappointed, broken, looking for some way to ease their pain, understanding that the world fears most the strength, the virility, the courage, the capacity of the black man. It is the astronauts of color whose bones were able to endure space. It was black men of color who forged the great roads, temples, bridges that built not only America, but all across the continent. We must find those broken pieces. We must understand. We'll get our hands dirty. We will be misunderstood. We'll be insulted. We'll be discriminated against. But there is a mission that is higher, because Makeda, Ya Asantawa, they are in our blood and our genes. And the spirit of Isis lives. The broken bodies, the broken minds, the broken spirits, the lost hopes, the disappointment, the hopelessness which has seeped in and contaminated the ability to understand who they are. These men of African ancestry, only men in the universe who raised the children born of the rape of their wives. That's what happened during slavery. My grandfather was born of the rape of his African mother by the plantation owner. And I knew my grandparents in my lifetime. But it was the man to whom his mother gave her heart, who raised him and loved him and nurtured him. So many black men in the chattel slave situation raised the children born of the rape of their wives. There is no creature more glorious than the male of Africa. We gave him birth in our sacred womb. We nurtured him. We breastfed him. We cannot discard him. Like Isis, he is what is hoped for. He is the father of all our tomorrows. We must rescue him and bring him to completion. Take a sister's hand and decide that you will seek him out in dark places. Give him back the hope and the love. Bring him to the majesty of who he really is. We are the daughters of Isis.
Yes, we are.
Queen Mother, Adelaide Sanford. Queen Mother, thank you for reminding us who we are. This is who you are. We're not who we see on the nightly news. We just heard about who you are. We're not who we read about in the daily newspapers. This is who we are. Brilliant spirit. Malika Sanders, come forward and talk to us about reclaiming our majesty, reclaiming ourselves and our people.
I've come this far to freedom, and I won't turn back. I'm climbing to the highway from my old dirt track. I'm coming and I'm going, I'm stretching and I'm growing, and I reap what I've been sowing on my skin's not black. I've prayed and slaved and waited and I've sung my song. You lashed me, you treated me, you done everything but feed me. But in time, I know you'll need me. And it won't be long. Because I've seen the daylight breaking high above the brow. I found my destination and I made my vow. And whether you abhor me, deride me, or ignore me, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains loom before me, and I won't stop now. Almighty Creator, please guide my words. Guide the hearts and minds of all of us who are present, that we only accept truth. We give thanks to our ancestors. We ask you to help us to have the courage to take the mighty path that you have already created for us. Asha. Asha. The daughters of Isis. That is such a powerful story, Mama Sanford, and I just want to say thank you. Amen. I just want to say thank you for sharing that story with us, because that is our charge. Our charge is to rise up as the mighty daughters of Isis and to remember the body of our people.
Exactly.
And I believe in order for us to remember the body of our people, that we must create a vision for ourselves that is more powerful than the vision of our oppressors for us. That's right. Yeah. We must create a vision for ourselves that is mightier than the vision that has been created for us. Okay. And I want to let us know that is a mighty task. Because there are some folk out there who have a vision for us that is not about being the daughters of Isis. That is not about our men being the mighty, powerful men that they are, like Osiris. It is not the same vision. And in order for us to create that vision and to make real that vision, we have to re-socialize our people. We have to re-socialize our daughters so that they will know they are the daughters of Isis. I believe that we must come together and figure out what that vision is. We must come together and figure out how to develop the institutions to make that socialization process real. I think our challenge is that takes so much work. It takes a lot of work, brothers and sisters. It means that we have to change everything that we have been taught that we are.
That's right.
It means that we have to reclaim the images of ourselves, that we have to reclaim the educational institutions, that we have to reclaim our sense of health care. We have to reclaim our political power. We have to reclaim every aspect of our lives. That means we have to be able to create something that we have never seen. We have to dream up something that we have never experienced. We have to create institutions that we do not know. But that is the power of the ancestors. That is the power of the ancestors in our lives. We can remember who we were and remember who we can be, so that we will be exactly who it is that the Creator has called us to be. And I think that means that we have to bring together all of our people, the men and the women. There must be balance.
That's right.
And right now we are out of balance. We as a people are out of balance. In every institution that we know of, there must be the power of sisters present there. are involved in the political process as leaders. As leaders. Far too many of us are involved in the health process of our people as leaders. And we have that possibility and potential in us, and we must grab hold to it, because if not, our people will die. I am trying to tell us that without the power of the sisterhood, our people will die. We must form sisterhoods. We must form sisterhoods to create institutions to re-socialize our people. That is our charge.
Thank you, Malika. That is our charge. We're talking about recreating ourselves, but we didn't come from nothing. We come from a mighty race of people, but we have studied European history so long we've forgotten our own. This is our time for remembering. It's a time for action. And one of the most powerful things we have to do is really watch our minds and mind our mouths. The words that we use, the ways in which we think about ourselves, the ways in which we speak to our children, how we speak to our mates, how we speak to one another. Language is powerful. It has the power to heal or to hurt. We're going to ask to come forward now. Keisha Greene. Please, Keisha. The youngest among us.
I don't mind staying there. I just sort of wanted to kind of share the space. Again, I'm Keisha, coming from South Carolina, but I live in Brooklyn for the last 5 years. I'm reminded of a couple of, well, first of all, I am the youngest on the panel, but by no means am I the youngest on the cruise. But I want to pay respect to all these phenomenal women that are surrounding me. I was so full. Been sitting here trying to hold back some of that emotion, because we are surrounded by so many beautiful women. And when I look in your faces, I see myself, and I'm drawing from that, and that's what keeps me going. As an educator in Brooklyn, some of the classes that I teach are communication courses. And we're talking about language and creating a new language. So when we were discussing ways of accomplishing the charge and the challenge, the hows and the whats and how are we going to do this, language is a huge part of that. We're talking about how are we going to do this. Well, we got to start with language or use language. Trisha Rose writes a book, Longing to Tell, and she came to Columbia University and sort of proposed the idea of sisters creating a new language, or perhaps remembering the language that we were using. So when I think about that, and in my courses, communication courses, we're talking about what we say and understanding that words are incredibly powerful. Words shape your universe, and what you say is what you walk into. So as an educator, I am very mindful of how we construct our sentences and how we greet one another. We can think of when we're on the street, how are we greeting our sisters? What are we saying to each other to empower each other, to edify one another? There's actually, I was reminded in the September issue of Essence, there's actually a bit of what happens. There's a quote that one woman says. She says, "I have a lot of friends, but I don't trust women." So I'm thinking, okay, what's that about? And we've heard that before. I have a couple of girlfriends because I don't want to have so many girlfriends. I can't trust women, or be careful about women around your men, or what kind of woman you invite in your space. And for me, that raises questions. And as an artist and activist and educator in Blackout Arts Collective, we ask a lot of questions and encourage our youth to sort of think about these questions and come up with answers. What are we saying? Beasley yesterday, Sandra, I'm not sure she's here, not yesterday, but when she was on the panel about the board versus Topeka, Kansas, we were talking about good hair, bad hair, and those things that we perpetuate, the stereotypes that we perpetuate through language. So thinking about, what is good hair, what is bad hair, why do we even say that, and why are we continuing to say that? And on our blocks and neighborhoods, what are we saying to the children that are running up and down the streets? When Oprah went to Africa, she made sure that her staff spoke to each child and said something positive, said that you are beautiful, you are wonderful, hold your head up. I remember her working with a little child, and she was way, way down, down, down. And Oprah was like, I have to get way down to look at you and sort of help her lift her head. And I think a way to do that is through language. Robin Kelly, Trisha Rose, those are some of the scholars in the city that are encouraging us to dream and to think of new ways and new ways of speaking. So a language of love, a language that, and part of that is sort of, if you keep doing the same thing and expecting the same results, that's the definition of insanity, right? So if you're doing the same thing the same way, and you're never examining or analyzing what we're doing and how we're doing it, that's insanity. So coming up with a new way to produce your desired new results. Also, changing the way you think, that means you have to take in new information. And that new information, when you take something out, if we're taking something negative out, we have to replace it with something positive that you can draw on. So changing your mind, renewing your mind, changing the way you think, which is also going to influence the way you believe about yourself, the self-esteem that you have, and that is contagious. So if I begin to think that I'm wonderful, think that I am brilliant, and using the information that, now I hope that I can call Grandma Fatima, thinking back on my own experience, I didn't have that information coming through school. So in the language of our curriculum, as you ladies have been talking about earlier, the language of our curriculum, what we're saying in the classroom is tremendously affecting our students, and sort of understanding that we are what we come from. And I can feel, the power when I'm looking at my students, 7th and 8th graders I had this summer. I'm looking at my beautiful young girls, and just sort of they're watching videos, and we're looking at magazines, and sort of dealing with this idea of objectification and the language that are used towards our women, and how do we change that? Part of Longing to Tell in Trisha Rose's book examines, when we're looking at hip hop music, the language that's being used. So just trying to pull out and sort of confront and acknowledge and deal head on with the way we are talking, the way we are speaking to one another, and examining and hoping that it is a language of love, it is a language that heals, it is a language that supports one another. Sister Tama, hopefully later she'll speak, but there's a song that we are one family and they can't separate us, and sort of not, it's one thing to say it, but to believe it and to put the action next to it.
Right.
And there's no more powerful and important place to practice what she's talking about than in our homes. In our homes and in our hearts. I challenge myself to find the most positive way to say what I have to say. How do we correct someone without criticizing them?
Right.
So often we demean and diminish our children. How often have you wanted to just stop a sister and say, let me help you with the baby? Because that's a 2-year-old and he's not an MF, he's not all the things that you're calling him. And we have to be brave enough to do that, because I was a single mother, and I can understand the stress that women have when they have children and they don't have the resources to take care of them well. So all that we're talking about today really begins with us. It begins in our hearts and in our homes and in our minds as we move from this incredible experience and go out into the world, taking all that we are learning here, all that we're being reminded of more than learning, because these are all the things that we know. We are so powerful. We are so powerful. We have so much. We want to hear, before we come back to Sister Adelaide, we want to hear from a young sister who is of Haitian ancestry, who was born in Haiti, and who is going to speak to us from her perspective about her thoughts about young Haitian women, Haitian American women. So let me bring to you the Selma Cadet.
I'm going to start with an African proverb. If you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a family. We have always been the backbone of our community. Whether we are referring to American women, Jamaican women, African women, or Haitian women, women of African descent have always exuded strength. As Mother Adelaide highlighted our history and heritage, we need to ask ourselves, how can we bring that strength to the forefront right here, right now? Personally, as a school social worker, I plan, and I'm on the child study team, I plan to advocate for brown children. Our children have been labeled ADHD, ADD, etc. And we have people who are educating our children who does not have their interests at heart. So, I'm going to be part of that team. What I plan to do is to go out into the community, speak with Haitian mothers, speak with black mothers, just to let them know what's going on. We are usually buried in paperwork just so we are so weeded so we cannot do the work. And especially when we refer to Haitian families, they have the language barrier. So I'm very grateful that I'm going to be in that position where I can teach them to advocate for themselves and their children. And it doesn't just stop with the school. Education is the #1 thing that can free us. Not the clothes we put on our backs, not the shoes we wear, but education. If we could start by liberating our children through good education and people who care.
That's right.
In the Haitian community, there's a high illiteracy rate. So what I did, I got training to be a tutor. So I also plan on working with older Haitian adults who do not know how to read, or anyone who would be interested in learning English, because words are powerful. Understanding information is powerful. So what I want to leave you with today is that we have it within us in this room. No one else. We have it within us. We don't need to look to Susan Taylor. We don't need to look to Mother Adelaide. We need to look to ourselves. And we have the support of the panel. We have people who have paved the way for us. Every time I read, I just get such a joy because there was a time we were not allowed to do that.
That's right. That's right. Come on.
And it's a shame now. They say if you want to hide secret from a black person, put it in a book. What are we talking about? People have paved the way. I am very proud of my Haitian background. I am very proud of what we have done. As you guys have heard from many of the panels since Saturday, there's people who's trying to stop us. There's people who do not want to see black people rising. But we have always overcome. And can nothing stop us. Together. Together. And also, as while we were discussing this panel, we represent, we are the people who's about the work, but also we need to let the sisters who's struggling, single mothers, people who are drug addicts. You know, I was a drug and alcohol counselor prior to getting my MSW. I was working in a halfway house. They are hopeless. We need to go there and have them become one of us. Teach them, not give to them. Teach them.
That's right.
Show them. I can't look at my nose. It's only by the grace of God that I am here. It could have been you.
Come on.
So whether we are sitting very nicely, we have our comfortable homes, give God the thanks, but let's bring the rest of us up. So together, when they're coming, we could stand together and say, you're gonna have to break down the gate because we are not going anywhere.
Haitian Americans and African Americans, bless you and thank you, sister. Curriculum, big issue. Issue in Haiti. It was interesting to hear our Haitian sisters and brothers speak about not knowing their own history, having to leave their country to really revisit the history and to learn about how powerful that history is. And so we've asked Sister Adelaide, who is just one of the foremost proponents of a curriculum of inclusion and has done so much work around that issue and has engaged us all throughout the country to move this issue forward, to come and speak to us about its power, its possibility, and certainly its importance. Adelaide Sand.
In the African tradition, education is a core value. In ancient Egypt, it was the priests who were teachers, and they studied for 40 years to go into the noble profession of education, leading out of a Latin word meaning that you bring out the genius that's in your student. You do not assume that they come as an empty vessel to be filled with external information. But you understand that in the nucleus and core of their being is intelligence, creativity, resilience, capacity. Carter G. Woodson says, if you want to determine the behavior of a people,
the big jackpot was not won this morning attack by Why not get your cards now? Don't stand in line later. The game is going to start at 4 o'clock in the morning. The jackpot $9,000.
PhD from Harvard University, the person who established and designed Black History Month, tells us that if you want to determine the behavior of a person, all you have to do is plot what they think about themselves. And if you can successfully make a people feel inferior, it isn't necessary to make a back door for them. For their feeling about who they are will cause them to make their own back door and enter therein. From Agassiz and Toynbee and Hegel, people of African ancestry were defined as ignorant, savage, primitive, and that followed us historically until in the United States and in New York, government programs labeled us disadvantaged, culturally deprived, at risk. These are not descriptions, they are directives. They were saying, this is what you will become. And curriculum, all that we learn in schooling, in advertisement, in the world of beauty and cosmetics, becomes curriculum for us. The children start to school young. And while we condemn violence, the nursery rhymes are violent.
That's right.
There's stories of burning people in the furnace. There's stories of eating up grandmothers. There's stories of dysfunctional and despotic fathers who say you go to the tower and spin the straw to gold and don't leave until you do. This is an abusive father. The story of the 3 bears. Suppose that were an adolescent male of African ancestry, and he went in and broke into the house and broke up the furniture, ate up the food, and slept in the bed. Would it be classical literature? Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. He was totally destroyed. This is what we teach our children from the earliest time of their lives in the American school system. Not realizing that that's a curriculum that takes away the edge from violence. It also teaches us something else. That if you're beautiful, you can do bad things. And it's all right. That's what it teaches us. Because the witches are black, evil. Storm clouds are black. Black hens lay no eggs. Black cows give no milk. This is curriculum from the earliest childhood stages. Curriculum should lift up. The proverbs that come out of our African tradition teach character. They teach power. They teach nobility. They teach sacrifice. It isn't about me. The classical curriculum of people of African ancestry isn't even a thou shalt not. It is I have not. I have not dammed the river. I have not polluted the stream. I have not put extra weight in the measure.
That's right.
I haven't taken milk from the children. I have not quenched a needed fire. It isn't about greed, it's about need. So what the children learn in school and in the community, and what comes out of your mouth to the children, is curriculum. While we struggle to get public school systems to adopt a curriculum that will elevate and liberate, because the educational system in America was not based on the liberation of people of African ancestry. It is an education of dependency. It is an education that makes you feel that the power and the strength and the money is in the hands of the oppressor, and that you don't have any power. My grandmother tells me that when she came from West Africa, she was sold with a family that had a little girl the same age that she was. And one of the first things that the old miss said to her, comb your hair. And she gave her a very fine-toothed comb, which was her comb. It wouldn't go through my grandmother's locks. So she said to my grandmother, you have bad hair. The truth of the matter is, it was an inappropriate tool. There's nothing wrong with her hair. There's nothing wrong with our children. It is the tool that is applied to them that doesn't function for them. And then they are labeled in pejorative ways. The change in curriculum will be the responsibility of the people who understand who they were. The warrior people who say, no, you will not teach my child that. You will not call my child special education. You will not say that my child is dyslexic. Anytime you see a normal, melanated child of African ancestry, boy or girls, they're going to be moving and thinking. They're not going to be sedentary with their head stuck in a book. They want the reality and the gem of life. Now, it's been difficult. And the reason that it's been so difficult to change curriculum is because it speaks to the heart of our power. When you understand that when you're told that everything about you is wrong, the way you think, the way you speak, the way you look, then you are being socialized away from yourself. But an education that validates you and that labels the issues as springing from a life of oppression is a liberating education. And that's what we must struggle for. Will it be easy? No. How long will it take? As long as caterpillars become butterflies. As long as salmon bruise their bodies, swimming upstream to spawn. As long as the crocus pierces the frozen earth in perfect formation. As long as geese fly in a flock because they know the power of flock rather than individual. That's how long we will keep the idea of a curriculum of liberation and fight for it and struggle for it and express it through our lives and through our vision, so that our children will be locked into a prison that says, you are beautiful, you are handsome, you are perfect, you don't have to change anything about yourself. You just have to find the depths of the genius within you. For the only kings and queens that came across this globe came from the continent of Africa.
our strength. We have everything that we need, we have. It's within us. Everything that we need is right here. And if I can't bring it out of myself, my sister can bring it out. So we have strength when we bond with each other. We learn from each other. We educate each other. We have traditional means of passing on information, values, culture. We have pathways that have been passed down for eons from one generation to the next generation. We used to have something called age groups, where you went with your age group and you were educated. There have been efforts here in the diaspora to recreate those systems, those rites of passage that exist, that help to make us whole. We want to open up our microphones, and I'm going to pose a question to one of our panelists, and after she speaks, see if there are any questions or any comments that we want to get from the brothers and sisters that are here in our gathering today. I want to pose this question to Sister Katherine Thomas. Okay, so come on, my sister. You have worked with sisters at Union Temple Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. for years, doing the rites of passage. Can you tell us what the benefits have been for the young women that you have worked with?
Good afternoon, my sisters and brothers. Good afternoon. The primary benefit of rites of passage programs is to instill in our youth those traditional values that will ensure not just their survival, but that they will carry on those values that we, not somebody else, deem to be critical to their success. And first of all, that starts from within, to let them know who they are, that they are the descendants of queens and who those queens were, things that they may never have known before, to let them know that in the tradition of a Harriet Tubman, and we do things like have a replication of the Underground Railroad, that they can survive, that they can make it, that they can be leaders if this sister went back 19 times to bring back other brothers and sisters. This is our charge as well. And she did it by first listening to the Spirit of God. And that's where it all starts. Our program at Union Temple Baptist Church is spiritually based and African centered. Because we recognize that as African people, it all begins with the Spirit. And that is the force that will allow you to achieve whatever it is you need to achieve. And it is our responsibility to go back in the tradition of Sankofa and recover what we have lost. And we have lost a lot, but we are regaining what we have lost. And one of the things that I want to make sure everybody is aware of, and in this group I'm sure that everyone is, but just the very name rites of passage, there's been some confusion about. But simply put, a rite is a ritual. That's right. That reinforces the principles that guide your society. And one of the ways that we implement these rites at the program that we've been doing at Union Temple, and I must add that not just for the young ladies, but for the young men as well, is to begin at that early age of introducing the girls to pouring libation. If our girls were here today, this would have been nothing new for them, because they participate in it. They know what a pouring libation is. They know what it means. They know why we pay homage, why we must pay homage to our ancestors. Having Adinkra symbols and the meaning of those symbols communicated so that it becomes something that is instilled in their lives and in their value system, starting each session with a proverb that's appropriate to whatever that lesson of the day is going to be. And this kind of program can be replicated throughout the country. It's not something that can only be done in a church setting. It can be done wherever you are. It can be done in whatever organization you are affiliated with. And we have begun to recognize that much of what we do has not been documented. And that is something that we have to be much better at doing. And if there are sisters in the audience who would like to know more about what the specifics are that we do at the Rites of Passage program at Union Temple, I would be happy to speak with them, share emails, because we do have materials, because we recognize that being in the forefront of this type of activity for 20 years when others thought it was something strange, and then now finding out that people are calling from all over the country wanting to know just how did we do it? What do you do? And we had to start writing down what it was and providing examples so that others can share in the knowledge that we have been able to gain through much trial and error over these past 20 or more years.
Katherine, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What would the 3 core values be that you try to impart to the young people? What would they be?
Well, I would say certainly the Nguzo Saba, the principles, and I'm just speaking generally, the principle of giving back to the community. We have, this year we have a young lady who went through our program as an initiate, because we do everything in a ceremonial, ritualistic fashion, because this is important. This is what our African ancestors have done, who has come back to be one of our new sponsors, which is what we call our mentors, and who can relate, because she is still young, can relate to the girls in a way that I just can't because of the age difference. The principles of Mayat are taught. The difference between the Afrocentric way of thinking and the European way of thinking. The Sheikh Anta Diop, 2 cradles of civilization theory. Something I dare say is probably not taught at least on the junior high and elementary level in any school in this country, and probably not. But this is something that we take responsibility for exposing our youth to.
I have a question, but it's to another.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Greetings.
Sister Katherine. Go ahead, my sister.
Okay, thank you, Mother. Greetings, sisters. I would like, I want to kind of ask a question and slash comment about some comments that Sister Keisha made. And just general from anyone who would like to respond, what do you feel that the root cause of women being demonized is? Is it from the whole Adam and Eve thing in the Bible? Or and what are some tools and skills and language that we can begin to use to counteract the idea and the reality of women being demonized in various ways?
Who wants to answer? Sister Keisha? Okay.
I mean, I'm sure we all have I'm sure we all have some response to that, and these panels are something very new to me. So I'm not sure where you just went, but okay. My evaluation of it is that, you know, we can think way back where women were seen as, you know, over-sexed beings, and then we sort of went through, I feel like, a process of being demure and some of our, you know, beginnings of sororities, and sort of seeing as this sort of white, demure, you know, put together woman, and so no showing of sexuality or femininity or, you know, who we are as women that way. And then I feel like with my current generation, we're sort of battling between these contradictions. So for my students and my colleagues, we're constantly battling with these contradictions. Either I'm seen as promiscuous, a freak, or, you know, and I'm just being frank because this is how, you know, students that I work with. So we're seeing these contradictions. Either we're the virgin white sort of put together demure person. I mean, because we're dealing with images, and so my students see the cover of Essence and they see Jill Scott, but then you also have XXL and King magazine, and so they're struggling with, who am I? You know, am I more the girl that's on the cover of King magazine, or am I more the girl that's like Jill Scott? And why is it that the girl that's like Jill Scott I mean, those are many more questions. Why is it that, with the question of Jill Scott comes, size and sort of, hair and skin color. We're talking a lot about those things. So I'm not sure that I have a question. I just recognize that it is an issue. And I recognize that with my students, the questions are, you're trying to define who you are. So we watch movies like She's Gotta Have It, Spike Lee's film, and we're wondering, is it okay that a woman, and clearly in this movie, she has decided that she's not a one-man woman, and she feels okay with that. I'm not sure that I have the answers, but I do know that those are questions, and I feel like just in our intergenerational conversation, there needs to be more of older women, younger women, all across the age groups discussing these issues. What does that mean? I'm not sure that I don't know who can identify with me, but in my household, in my family, I'm not sure if all these questions are being asked to parents. And I know that my mom, she says, well, in terms of the conversation about sex and sexuality and femininity, I remember, my mom saying, well, Beatrice, who's my grandmother, she was more concerned about, working for the family and making sure that they were educated and had the things that they need. So I'm not sure if my mother had that conversation with her mother. I'm not sure if she, spoke about these stories of what has happened, in the past with our women. So sort of hearing these stories, I bring up Longing to Tell again because it is a phenomenal book about women giving testimonies about their, past experiences involving sex and just feeling repressed. One of those things that's brought up in the book is you're talking about religion. And for women, religion is a major source of faith and strength and power. And on the other hand, a lot of women have felt repressed on the same way. So just, again, for me, it's contradictions and just sort of figuring that out. And in terms of language, I know what I know. And I know that when I began to speak with power and I speak with words that uplift me, I began to walk that way. So if my sister is not speaking that way, I know that there are some times that she may feel less than adequate and she may feel undervalued and overworked. And there are other things going on in my head, this super black woman syndrome with the cape and I can do it all by myself. I don't know. Those are other questions as well.
Thank you, Sister Keisha. Before we get to the sister that's at the microphone, we want to have Reverend Cecilia say a few words because the Bible was brought into it. We'll talk a little bit.
Praise the Lord. I'm so thankful that I was present when the question was raised. One of the things we want to dismantle is bad religion and its impact upon our people. The actual biblical understanding in the creation of the humankind was that God created man, male and female. This is the Genesis. Created he them, and God created them in God's own image. In terms of the demonization of women, I genuinely believe that part of our predicament as a people is the result of African American women walking away from our spiritual vocation. And because vocation means your calling. African diasporic women, wherever we are, have two primary spiritual gifts. They are to prophesy and to heal. Prophecy deals with the word of God deposited in the soul of a mortal being and then uttered into human history. Regrettably, the more we remained in the culture, the more we began to look in our mirrors for the reflection of other women. And we condemned the thing that made us who we are. And God is doing a speedy work And so the force that will dismantle the infrastructure of evil, those who know and understand, recognize that we are not wrestling against flesh and blood. It's not about Bush or his father. We're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and the rulers of darkness in high places. And as women who operate in the Spirit begin to move in solidarity, you're going to see a shift that's initiated in the spirit realm, brought forward in the natural order. And that's why your grandmother said it is prayer that changes things. Amen. And so there will be African and diasporic women who will be issuing a call for prayer, for the healing of the nations, and for the dismantling of the infrastructure of evil. African women have been demonized, but European women have been glorified. Amen. And once we again begin to deposit into our daughters and our granddaughters the awakening of the Spirit of God, then they'll be able to make new decisions about who they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
My sister, question for the panel.
I had a comment to make, and the Reverend, believe it or not, just said everything that was in my heart. Everyone who spoke of just saying, identifying who we are.
Right.
And I was doing thinking the same thing in Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and so much going on. But when He got to us, it was almost like speaking the vegetation into being. But when it came to woman and man, He said that He made us into His own image. And it would do us good if we would find out who is this God who made us into His own image. And then later on, He said He reminded Himself and really praised Himself for what a job He had done. How beautiful and wonderful how we are made. And then He said what a marvelous job He had done. So I'm a principal in a school, and it's sort of like hard to just bring it out. But we better find a way to let women and men know who we are and how we're made. And someplace else with the tower, with the unity we spoke, there's so much power in unity. Till God said, hey, we better do something, because once man unite, we can do anything. There's nothing that He can take from us. So with this group, I'm so proud. My teacher over here, Miss Moore, I mean, she was there telling the whole world, and I'm sure I see another principal over here, about this group to come. So I couldn't come then, but I got us on the same ship. But what happened, what we're saying, we have to educate our teachers. We can't say bring Bible into school, but we certainly did not take Bible out of the homes. And mothers, our job is, and I'll tell you this, we are spoiling our children. Like the sister said, it starts at home, and we better start educating our men. In kindergarten,
Sister Renee Washington, now you heard everyone speak about the things that we need to do and what is in our heart and what's in our spirit and where we need to go. How do we help these sisters that you're seeing in places like Rikers Island, or who are ending up in the prison system, who are ending up in the jails? What after all these years of working with these women, what do you see as being needed, and what can we do?
The first thing that we have to realize is the sisters that come there have little or no self-esteem, which means that starts with their family. So we have to work with them to try to give that back to them. And it's such a disruption in our family life when the mother is in prison. You understand? Daddy may be in prison, and you only have a grandmother or a relative, and they may not be able to take their children, which means the child goes into foster care. So it's the continuance of a vicious cycle, and we have to get hold of it. It is crisis beyond belief. And I've been doing it for 20 years. It hurts me every time I walk in and I hear the young adolescents, the male adolescents, at the male center say, well, you have your rites of passage now, you passed through jail. Why should that be considered a rites of passage for our young black males? So now they're thinking that, what do you think the sisters are thinking? They're young. They get caught up into alcohol addiction, drug addiction. Many of them are prostitutes because they're trying to get their fix on. So we have to get a hold of it. And how we have to get a hold of it is like all of the sisters here believe. Education first, strong family nurturing is so powerful. You can't realize how powerful it is. And when they come in and we present them programs, it does help. We have a nursery there where if you want to bond with your child is allowed to stay there for a year with you. So, I mean, we're really trying to break this cycle. So I think we just need to go out to the community with the different community groups like Justice Works, which helps females who have been incarcerated, and continue our fight because we have to stop the vicious cycle.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Judith, and I'm very happy to be here. On my way over, I was wondering, God, why am I coming? And it seemed that I was having problems after problems after problems. And I said, well, there is a reason why I'm coming. And I am Haitian American, but I have a passion for African American children. And I'm very happy to be here because for a while there, I started to wonder what happened to the African American community. Because I didn't see anyone mobilizing anywhere. And I felt like I was carrying the Haitian struggle and the African American struggle in my school district because I'm a teacher. And I work in Newark. I work on Bergen Street, one of the roughest areas in Newark. And my kids, I had a struggle. I had to teach my children who know only hip hop and R&B. And I have a question, there's a question again, about classical music. I'm a graduate of Westminster. So to get my children interested in learning about Mozart, but jazz, but even teaching them about their own history because they didn't know anything about the evolution of hip hop, okay? So my kids started to learn. These are children who supposedly could not read. You have middle school kids who are at second grade reading level. Came to figure out that my kids didn't develop that area of the brain of understanding, and we had educators in the school building who didn't realize that this was the problem. Why can't our children pass tests? Let me see. No one taught them how to pass the test. Okay? So here I am. I'm in the school district, and I'm like black marked. I'm, the one who thinks, she's showing off whatever. Because I'm all about action. I love our kids. My question is, and I hope I don't get lynched after this question.
We promise we won't lynch you.
I have seen the Martin Luther King movement, and I'm sure a lot of you have walked with Martin, Malcolm X, so on and so forth. When I went to a board meeting, I saw a lot of African American faces on the board. So that means that basically the board is what? Over the public school system, right? My question is, why is it that we have one of the worst, well, okay, let's say Newark. Okay. Why is it that we have one of the worst school systems when we know the importance of education? You've lived through it. A lot of you have fought for it. A lot of people have died for it to happen. What happened? And why is it that the community has not been mobilized? Because the mothers on Bergen Street, there was a parent-teacher liaison in my school who had no idea what the SFA program was, but yet she was supposed to speak to the parents. Why is
let me take your
Sister
question.
Barbara, let
and,
Sister Adelaide handle that question. And I think Rose Sanders has something she
and,
wants to
and
say as well.
can we expand the question maybe to why this happens in the school systems? Because it's happening throughout the country. And have Sister Adelaide is going to speak to this.
Even though there may be people of African ancestry by color on those boards, if they have been educated by the oppressor and they see the oppressor as the site of power and control, those people who are African Americans by color are not able to function in the reality of who they are. That is one reason. The other reason is, even when there are people of African ancestry on boards, there are meetings and decisions made that they do nothing about. They are often not in the majority, and they are not able to carry the vote for those issues which are important to their children. Finally, there has been no organization except the one in New York City that we have developed, the Board for the Education of People of African Ancestry, to attempt to pull these people of African ancestry together who are on boards so that they can learn how to function in a bifurcated system, how to strategize and calculate and maneuver to get those things which are good for our children. Thank you.
Most of my work, I didn't mention this in my bio, has been around education for the past 20 or 30 years. And there's another factor, and I respect everything that you said, but there's a fear factor, and there's a factor of selfishness. And the fear factor, to give you an example, in 1990 in Selma, Alabama, when we challenged racism in our schools, the tracking of our schools, separation into levels based upon assumption that black people were inferior. Well, the truth is most black educators and black parents accept that theory. That's why they don't challenge it. Because if all the white children had been at the bottom, or all the Jewish children had been at the bottom, there had been a revolution. And in fact, when we challenged it, we were all arrested, every member of my family. And one young man was killed. And even though we had a massive movement to stop that insanity, when that young man, Ricky Brown, was killed, people began to retreat. And we took our movement to a national level, and we have it's a movement, it's not an organization, called the RISE campaign, replacing inequities in schools with excellence. And we are developing curriculums, and we develop a miseducation quotient for you to determine your degree of miseducation. Because it's hard for you to tell someone else they're miseducated when you're miseducated. And there's not a person in this room who's ever lived in America who doesn't have some degree of miseducation.
Okay. And Sister Cassandra wants to say something maybe about the Board of Education.
Well, in addition to that, I do also want to say that it is critically important that we ourselves learn to have great patience, understanding, and love for ourselves, but also for our sisters and our brothers. We are probably at a place right now in our lives where we know more, but we didn't always know more. We weren't always where we are right now. And someone reached out and helped us to be where we are. And we have to also go deep down inside of ourselves and have the kind of unconditional love. And I want to say that again. Have the kind of unconditional love for our children, for our men, our boys, and ourselves. And sisters, the first thing we have to do in the morning, and like we're going to do right now, is to love ourselves. Now, take your hands and put it around yourself. Both of them. Give yourself a big hug. And I mean, don't give yourself an artificial hug.